All right, it is the 14th edition of the Sports Mashup, June 2nd, first one of June, really fully into summer at this point. I think last year at this time, I don't really think there was anything going on. I think maybe golf might have been back, but we got everything going on now. So it's a good time to, do this and talk about the sports world. And we'll start in the National Basketball Association and spend as little time as possible there, unless you really want to go into the playoffs. But, there is injury issues pretty much everywhere. I mean, you look at each team; they've got something going on, and the Lakers are no exception. Anthony Davis, obviously missing yesterday's game, they got just destroyed by my squad, the Phoenix Suns. But I think he'll play in Game 6. I think it's a sudden death type situation. They need to win. He was a game time decision yesterday, which I think helps that cause. So I think he'll play in Game 6. And how much will it matter? I mean, it's really up to those two to win because the rest of that Lakers team is not any good.
Yeah,
so,
I had this wrote down too for him not playing Game 5. Then I was like, well, Game 5 is before we're gonna record this, so there's no reason to write this down.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things for the Lakers that, like, if you look outside of LeBron and Anthony Davis, you have Andre Drummond, who's really been hit or miss. I mean, he's a good rebounder, I guess, when it comes down to it. Dennis Schroeder's actually been pretty good. After that, I mean, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's dealt with injuries, can't make a shot. Wesley Matthews can't make a shot. Ben McLemore's playing for them for some reason. Caruso doesn't do much. Markieff Morris doesn't do much. So
yeah, Wesley Matthews, he's been a different player after his second injury, except for when he was in Dallas.
I mean, I would agree with that. It's just they're just not very good. So
and then Caruso has been awful lately.
He's just not a good player, really. You can't really expect too much from him. I think he's playing too much anyway.
Andre Drummond, he started out his career at the Lakers really good, and then he had that whole toenail issue and has been a changed big man, and they still have barely used Marc Gasol.
Yeah, he doesn't do much either. He kind of just goes out there, gets a couple fouls, maybe makes a couple shots, and then that's kind of it. That's what he did yesterday, at least. So it's a very weirdly structured team. I don't really see – it would be a massive disappointment if the Suns don't win one of the next two games and finish this off. But we'll see. Marv Albert, we talked about a couple weeks ago, retiring after this NBA playoffs. He's going to be calling Game 5, which is coming up from when we're recording this in an hour or two, of the Hawks and the Knicks live from Madison Square Garden, the first game that he's calling in person all year. So I think that's pretty cool. I mentioned whenever we talked about him retiring that hopefully he can do an in-person game, and especially doing it at MSG, a place where obviously he's a legend
where he started.
City. Yeah, so that's pretty cool to see that. And then this shocked me.
Yeah,
Danny Ainge stepping
when
down.
I saw this, Danny Ainge stepping down.
Surprising, retiring. I mean, Celtics probably needed a change anyway. I mean, they're a premier basketball franchise, and they haven't won anything in a long time at this point. So,
and I think a lot of Celtics fans still had a lot of, I don't know if animosity is the right word, but a lot of hit or miss, like Jekyll and Hyde feelings against him for what he did with all those picks that he dealt away.
I mean, that I don't really understand that trade with the Nets.
No, before that, like when he got them, Garnett and all those guys, he traded a lot of picks away.
Yeah. I mean, that is the NBA, though. I mean,
it got them a championship, but he dealt away a lot of the future there.
He did.
And then after those guys left, they had a lot of down years until you got Kyrie.
That was a weird situation. And then you also had the whole – I mean, this year, even if Jaylen Brown is playing against the Nets, they don't have a chance. Their team's not good enough. So I think
but Tatum showed that he is a complete stud.
Yeah, he's a superstar, no doubt. What it's going to come down to now with Brad Stevens transitioning from being the head coach to being the president of basketball operations, number one, you need to get a good head coach. And Lloyd Pierce and Jason Kidd are about the two worst options you could possibly have. So they got to go a different direction than that. And then I think it's building around Tatum, building around Jaylen Brown. I don't know where they go
You think they go back and get Patino back out, bring him back into the
He's
NBA?
a little too old at this point. I think he's a little too up there in age, but I don't know where they're going to go with it.
He could shock the NBA system back though.
I think he's too old school for the NBA at this point. Chauncey Billups maybe could be a guy they look at. I know that a lot of people are calling for Becky Hammond, who's the assistant coach for the Spurs. Maybe she gets a look. I don't know. We'll see. But
That's not a bad choice.
it's not. And Lloyd Pierce and Jason Kidd are about as bad as you can get. Look at Lloyd Pierce. Gets fired by the Hawks. Hawks go on a huge run, and they're probably going to get out of the first round and make it to the second round. Jason Kidd was not a good head coach either. So I don't know why they would start there. But if you're a Celtics fan, you got to hope they don't hire one of those two.
Yeah, then another big injury. Embiid, he injured his knee in their last game. He had an MRI done yesterday. The results, he had a meniscus tear, and he will miss game 5. They're hoping he can play in game 6, which I don't know how you're going to have a meniscus tear and how you're only going to miss one game.
So what I read about this was if this is a new meniscus tear, it doesn't seem likely that he would be able to play again in the playoffs. So I don't know why they're so optimistic that he could play.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I mean, the Wizards still don't have a chance, in my opinion. I know that Embiid's a huge part of what the Sixers do, but you got to think they can win at least one of those games. That maybe Ben Simmons will finally learn how to take a game over or something like that. But
don't even get me started on that. If I make a bet before the season for him to make 4 threes on the year, and he had 3 at the All-Star break, you know what he finished the year with?
3.
Correct. And he didn't even shoot another 3 after the All-Star break.
What a weird player. Really makes
He was 3 for 10 for the year.
To be like the role that he plays in and not being able to shoot is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I don't get that. But yeah, I don't think Embiid's going to play. And if he doesn't, I mean, the East is Nets or Bucks. No doubt about it.
Here's how
the
playoffs are standing right now. Yet Utah's up 3-1 on Memphis. The Clippers and Dallas are tied at 2-2. Denver's up 3-2 on Portland. Suns are up 3-2 on the Lakers. In the Eastern Conference, Philly's up 3-1 on Washington. Atlanta's up 3-1 on the Knicks. And then Milwaukee beat Miami 4-0. And Brooklyn beat Boston 4-1 because Jason Tatum had to go off to get one win.
Yeah. It's interesting that we aren't going to get Milwaukee, Brooklyn in the conference finals, which the NBA probably hates that it's going down like this. But you're going to have
because now they were probably hoping there that they were going to probably play Philly, but now you're going to be playing Philly probably without Embiid
or Atlanta.
Yeah,
I think Atlanta would beat Philadelphia if Embiid's out.
Yeah, because their big man is Capella, right? Atlanta's.
Yeah, they also have John Collins at the 4, who's good. DeAndre Hunter's a good 3. They have a lot of depth in Atlanta. I think Knicks fans, from what I saw, underestimated the Hawks. Like, the Hawks are pretty good, and they fit this style of NBA play. And you've seen where the Knicks not being able to produce any offense outside of Derrick Rose, which is just weird to say, has really hurt the Knicks. They were clearly an overachieving team anyway, but to lose in 5 like they could tonight, pretty embarrassing.
I don't think the Hawks could deal with Brooklyn's big 3.
No, the Hawks wouldn't beat Milwaukee or Brooklyn. I think the Bucks have a better chance against the Nets than people think. But I know I said last week it's the Nets championship to lose, and I still think that. But I think the Bucks will be better in that series than people expect. Because you got to remember, Giannis has had some disappointing playoff exits the last few years. I don't think they're going to let that happen again to where they lose in 6 or 5. I think this series could go 7, but we'll see. And then the West, I just think the Clippers are back. The Mavericks ruined their chance. They were up, 30-8 in game 3, I believe, and then ended up losing that game because I think the Clippers went on like a 78 to 30-something run.
Well, yeah, I think that's when Luka got hurt or whatever, and then he had played game 4 with like a concussion or something.
Yeah, I think Dallas is done. Denver, Portland, I mean, when Lillard has 55 points and they lose the game, I think Denver's going to win that. Utah should take care of Memphis. Suns Lakers is all Anthony Davis dependent.
Wasn't there a controversial call at the end of that game or whatever to go to
I think
overtime.
I think Lillard got fouled, or like someone swiped his arm, and people didn't think that it was a big
Austin
enough.
Rivers like went under him or something, and they
Yeah,
called like that he went in his landing zone or something.
I guess by rule that would be a foul, but to call that to basically decide a game and get to overtime is a little bit much in the playoffs. But that's just me. I think that's what a lot of people
And then,
thought.
do you think the Utah Memphis series is over?
Yeah, I don't. If Donovan Mitchell's healthy, I don't see how Utah loses that. I think the West is probably going to produce. I would say if the Lakers don't beat the Suns, you're either going to see the Jazz, Clippers, or Suns out of the West. I don't really think Denver has a chance without Jamal Murray.
But
I
you
know
think the higher
Jokic is
seeds
great.
are all winning the first round?
I think that's probably how it's going to shake out unless Anthony Davis is magically healthy and playing well. I don't really see how the Lakers get out of that. They got destroyed last night. Like LeBron doesn't even look like he wants to be there right now. And I know people have probably said that before during the playoffs and they end up winning the series anyway, but that's just how it looks right now. But let's go to the NFL. And today we had the news of Weston Richburg retiring, a center from the Niners, only 29 years old, battling a lot of injuries. So good luck to him. I mean,
Yeah, just
you're retiring that early.
just 3 years ago he signed or made history signing the biggest contract for a center in NFL history. But he's been battling a shoulder injury, missed all last year with a shoulder injury, and had a patella injury in week 14 in 2019 that forced him out, that he never really recovered from.
He was really good in 2019 before he got hurt, and I know that.
Yeah, so it sucks. And the guy was good.
I would agree. Let's just do these real quick. The Cowboys have no interest in trading Leighton Vander Esch, linebacker, who has had some injury issues, but when he's on the field, he's been really good for them. So I don't really see why they would trade him. I mean, they're going to ask for a high price, and nobody's going to pay a high price when you have a guy who gets injured that much. So I don't see that happening. And let's just throw this in there. The Packers have no interest in trading Aaron Rodgers. Breaking news. Oh, my God. As if I didn't say a month ago that he's not going to get traded, because he's not.
And they said they're calling his bluff, right?
If that's true, that's the smart move to do. I've always thought he's trying to enjoy his summer, and he'll come back in training camp, and we'll be fine. That's kind of how I've always approached this, but other people obviously want to take it to extremes. And let's see what your boy Bruce Arians said. Kyle Trask is not far behind Andrew Luck mentally wise as a rookie. I just threw this on there because that's kind of a weird,
Well, I watched this whole interview where this was said. And he was talking, people were asking him about Kyle Trask as like coming in as a rookie behind these other guys and everything. And they were asking, is this the best guy that you've had as a rookie? And he's like, I've had such and such. I also had Andrew Luck. You guys forget that. He goes, he's not Andrew Luck. He goes, he's definitely not as smart as Andrew Luck, but he's there mentally wise.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, Bruce Arians says some fun things that the media likes to run with. So this could be one of those things, or it could have ended up being that. But do you think Trask is ever the starter for the Bucs? Do you think he's going to be the guy when Brady's gone?
See, that's what, in that same thing too, they asked her, they're like, what are you going to do with Ryan Griffin? They're like, you've kept him around this whole time.
What round did they draft Trask in?
The second.
Yeah, I think he's going to get the shot.
That's what amazed me why they re-signed Blaine Gabbert, but Bruce Arians is way high on Blaine Gabbert. He said that he's the most underrated player in the league.
Well, I think that teams don't like to have rookies as the number 2 right away.
Well, no, but Ryan Griffin's been the backup down there for like 6 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Brady's ever going to retire, though, at this point. So I don't really know if they have to worry about it too much.
Well, no.
But, yeah, so got a couple more things here in the NFL.
Yeah, the Seahawks have jumped into the mix as contenders for Julio. I know we keep talking about Julio Jones, but he's kind of a big deal right now in the NFL trade mix. He and Russell Wilson have been in contact via phone calls. Imagine him, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. DK and Tyler Lockett each had 10 touchdowns and over 1,000 yards last year. So just imagine those two. And well, I wouldn't either. But the NFC, is it the West?
Yeah.
Like
a lot of receivers in that division.
The Rams, the Niners, and is it the Cardinals are in that?
Yeah.
Their defense better be ready if they get Julio Jones.
Yeah, I've always thought that if he gets traded, he's probably going to end up somewhere random. And my current prediction would be the Titans.
Well, in that same article, they said that the Titans they can't make that happen. They can't make a deal work. That they're no longer in there.
Well, what I would think is, and this is just me, obviously, I think that the Falcons should call the Packers and do that. That's kind of what I think.
Well, they don't want to trade him in the NFC is their issue.
Well, give up. I think the Packers, if they had any balls at all, they give up a first-round pick because it's not going to be a high first-round pick. And this would also probably make Aaron Rodgers definitely come back, even though I already know he's going to, but he would definitely do it if he's got Devontae Adams and Julio Jones. So make it happen. I mean, what are we doing at this point?
But if those two receivers are in Seattle, which one is Jalen Ramsey covering?
Julio.
So then who's covering DK?
Whoever their number 2 is.
Well, I mean, obviously, but then Tyler Lockett's just going to get free roamed on some rookie corner.
Yeah, obviously it's tough to do that, but Russell Wilson won't have any excuses if they get Julio Jones, even though his offensive lines have always been bad. I don't know why. If you're the Seahawks, do you really want to do this if you have to give up a lot? Because the offensive line has always been the issue there for Wilson, at least the last 7 years.
Everyone's talking like on Pat McAfee's show, everyone's talking like they're only going to need to give up like a first and a third round or even only a second and a third round pick to get him.
Yeah, I mean, that's not that surprising. His contract is huge, and it's not like he's that young right now.
And it's only 1 year left on his contract.
Do the Falcons even have any leverage, though? Like, he literally said on national TV that he's out of there. So,
and after the June 1st, that cap hit different, so it's even less money.
Still a lot, though. And let's just think of this. Hopefully he's traded by next Wednesday so we don't have to keep talking about the rumors. That's all I hope.
Yeah. And the last in the NFL, Rex Burkhead is no longer a New England Patriot, signed with the Houston Texans.
Well, we'll see how that goes. Seems like the Texans have made a lot of moves on veteran players who need somewhere to play, and we'll see how that goes. But let's go to college basketball, where you're wearing your Duke gear today. That's because Coach K will retire after this season, finalizing a search process with officials to name Duke's associate head coach, John Shire, I believe is how it's pronounced, as the coach in waiting. This was broken by Jeff Goodman and also reported by Adrian Wojnarowski. So, Roy Williams and Coach K both going out back-to-back years. How about that?
Well, didn't Boeheim also say recently that he's in his?
You got to think if I had to bet, I would say he'll go the year after. I would say the year after Coach K goes, so 22-23.
Well, when's his youngest supposed to graduate? The one they just transferred in?
Probably around then, I would think, but he's also been there forever. So
no, the one that just transferred in.
Yeah, I think either after next season or the one after, I think.
I didn't see this coming.
I mean, how old's Coach K? He's up there, right?
This is his 41st year.
Yeah, that's a long time. I mean, Boeheim's been at Syracuse even longer, but
this might have been just his 41st year at Duke, not counting what he was at West Point.
Coach K, 74. he's been at Duke since '80, so 41st year, and then he was at Army from
West Point.
75 to '80, and then assistant at Indiana under Bob Knight in '74, '75. So he's been coaching this will be his 47th year coaching, head coach 46th year. It's a long time to do it, and I think at some point you got to move on. But I think the big thing that you got to think about here is the recruiting and how there was also added on to the report that Coach K was kind of tired of telling recruits that he'd be here for this long and all this stuff, so he just wanted to figure it all out.
Yeah. But John Shire at least was a big part of the last big recruiting. Like he brought in Zion and a lot of the big names in previous years.
Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
He was big with Zion and Jason Tatum. So, I mean, that's good. And you got to be happy that you're not ending up with Jeff Capel. I mean, he's not a good head coach. So
no, but I was surprised like Nate James wasn't in the running for this, or he could have been.
Where's he at right now?
I think he's still an assistant. Or no, did he just leave?
I thought he just left because I was like, they want to keep it in house just like North Carolina did. Keep with the guy that's there right now.
Did Nick James just leave?
Austin P. He's the head coach there. So not surprising. We'll see how he does. I mean, this is the type of job though where Duke and North Carolina recruit themselves basically. So
when Shire's been there since 2016,
X's and O's are really the most important thing for him and a guy like Hubert Davis who's at North Carolina. So we'll see. I mean,
he played there recently, so it's not like, at least with Davis, he played a long time ago.
Yeah, and he's also been an assistant there for much longer than Shire has been at Duke.
But I'm saying, like, he played there a long time ago. At least Shire graduated in 2010, where he's at least more recent with the game and how it's played now.
Well, he's being handed a huge job, and we'll see what he does with it. Maybe Duke should have taken Brad Underwood off my hands.
Nah. But some Coach K stats, wins, he's got 1,170, which is first overall in NCAA. NCAA tournament appearances, 35, he's tied for first. 31 seasons, he's at 15, first. Final Four appearances, 12, tied for first. Final Four wins, 12, he sits at second. National titles, 5. He sits at second behind John Wooden with 10. And I don't see anybody getting past that.
Yeah.
NBA draft first rounders, 41, which is first. 12 regular season ACC champions, 15 ACC tournament champions. I mean, and he's going to add on to some of that this year. Hopefully he may be able to get to 1,200 wins.
You would think that it'll be close. I don't know. Depends, I guess.
Yeah, depend if they can get a full season in.
Well, they definitely will, I would think. I don't think anything's stopping them now.
We never know.
How many first-round picks Calipari has to see how close he is.
Well, I'm sure that will get passed.
Kentucky, let's see. Well, I know Calipari has at least 21 lottery picks in the last 11 years. I think it's 38. Actually, it's around there. 30 something is how many Calipari has, so that'll get passed. But most of these are going to be tough. And doesn't Boeheim have more wins than this, but a bunch of them are vacated, so he doesn't have as many? Because Boeheim's been there for so long, he's got to be close to that.
Boeheim doesn't have more wins. He was close.
I think he has over 1,000, but they're vacated, so he only has 982.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, a lot of these records are going to be impossible, you would think, to pass up. definitely the John Wooden thing is just absurd how many he won. But yeah, I think okay, yeah, Boeheim has okay, got it. Yeah, I mean, end of an era and the beginning of a new one. And like I said, these types of schools recruit themselves, so I don't think it's going to be that hard to recruit. It's all about X's and O's, and we'll see how the ACC looks now with two legendary coaches out the door. Okay, what else do we have in the world of college hoops?
Howard University star freshman Maker entering the NBA draft. For the first 5-star recruit to choose to play at an historical black college university, 20-year-old won't sign with an agent, only played in 2 games due to groin injury. The team only played 5 before shutting down due to COVID. He's 6'11", in his 2 games, he averaged 11.5 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Have a feeling he's not going to leave with only playing 2 games in college.
Probably not, but you never know.
Calipari awaiting transfer ruling to set his roster.
A lot of transfers going in and out of there, so we'll see.
There's a study athletes see higher post-COVID heart risk. And then the last thing is transfers to give selves refocus. Jayhawks jolt they desperately need.
Yeah, I've mentioned a few times Kansas has a really good class of transfers coming in. Yesufu from Drake, Remy Martin if he plays there from Arizona State. So the amount of guards they have coming in, they'll be good. They'll be really good again. So I wouldn't worry about that for Bill Self. But let's go to golf, where we had an interesting tournament that looked like Jordan Spieth was going to win it, but he didn't. And yeah,
the Charles Schwab Challenge. The winner, Jason Kokrak. Is that how you say that?
Kokrak, I think.
Wins $1.4 million purse, shot 14 under, but he was trailing going into the final day behind Spieth. Comes back, shoots 3 under. 3 under what Spieth shot. Beats him by 1 stroke.
Yeah, he was flirting with danger at the end there, but he pulled through. Here's an interesting stat for you. Jordan Spieth is 10 for 20 in winning tournaments after having the lead after day 3, which is 50%, which is kind of the range that guys like Dustin Johnson, Roy McIlroy, those types are in. And then you have the stat of Tiger Woods is 55 for 59. So just kind of shows you how great Tiger was, and it's just not even comparable to these guys, the top players today even. So it's a pretty absurd stat.
And then next, starting tomorrow, we have the Memorial Tournament presented by Nationwide, defending champion John Rahm at Murfield Village Golf Club in Dublin, Ohio.
This is a Jack Nicklaus course. A lot of tweaks made to it. One of the better non-major, huge spectacle tournaments there is, because it's very interesting to see what kind of tweaks that Jack makes every year to the course. And this year I hear there's a lot of changes. So it should be a good, fun, clean weekend of golf, I would think, with some decent feature groups that you can tell the people about, which I think some of these I've already seen like 20 times, like the Ram Morikawa Shuffle. I think we've seen that like 40 times, but there's some good ones. With, you think about Cantlay, nobody knows who he is, right? But he's playing with DeChambeau and Spieth. That changes things. Hovland, Scott, McIlroy's decent. Like I said, Ram Morikawa Shuffle, I think we've seen that 40, 50 times already. And then JT with Patrick Reed and Hideki Matsuyama. So we will see, and we'll make our picks on that later. Let's go to baseball here. It looks like the Cubs are back. They keep winning. They've won 9 of 10. Chris Bryant, Craig Kimbrell have had terrific seasons. Their offense is clicking. Their bullpen has a ton of no-names outside of Kimbrell who are playing really well, so that's kind of surprising. They're a game out of the Cardinals in first place after winning today. The Yankees got swept by the Tigers. That's embarrassing. How do you let that happen? They lost to the Rays the next day, then they won. But it looks like the Rays and Red Sox are maybe put like if the Yankees miss the playoffs with that roster and that big of a payroll, that's an embarrassment. I mean, you cannot let that happen. Look at the Rays payroll. The Rays payroll is probably as big as the Yankees' 2 or 3 highest paid players.
And didn't I not have them even making the playoffs?
Did you have them missing? You might have. I don't remember.
And you were shocked?
Yeah, but you had the Indians winning the World Series.
Yeah. But if I at least have the Yankees not making the playoffs, and that's right, that's even better.
You got to think they'll eventually figure it out, but we'll see. Let's do May Players of the Month. Marcus Semien of the Blue Jays in the American League. 368 average, 429 on base, 702 was his slugging. 8 home runs, 22 RBIs. And then Fernando Tatis Jr., who just got hurt again, by the way, with an oblique injury. I think we'll get into that. 353 average, 440 on base, 824 slugging, 9 home runs, and 26 driven in for him. So turn it over to you with some other baseball headlines.
What week would we have discussed, made our picks on the whole baseball?
It had to be 4 or 5.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I didn't have the Yankees making the playoffs.
Who'd you have winning that division?
That's the American League East, right?
East, yeah.
The Blue Jays.
Interesting. That could happen. I mean, I don't know if they'll win it, but they might make the playoffs. What else we got?
The Rockies already struggling to get runs on board. It might be the worst offensive team in modern baseball history. Take another hit. It isn't going to help. Shortstop Trevor Story lands on IL with elbow issue.
Everything you need to know about the Rockies this year in one statement right now is they played a doubleheader against the Pirates last week and scored 0 runs in both games. There you go.
Basically bet against them every game.
Yep, they're horrendous.
The Twins' Donaldson scores Major's 2 millionth run. Cubs' Bodie leaves game with left shoulder injury. Not many days after the Cubs lost second baseman Horner.
Doesn't seem like it's hurting them. I mean, they can't stop winning.
DeGrom's 0.71 ERA, lowest through May since 64. Chris Short of the Phillies was that pitcher. Cubs now have 11 players on the IL. Cardinals right behind with 10. And then I had a talking point here. If Tatis Jr. can stay healthy, how many home runs do you think he can hit this year?
Well, considering he gets hurt at like 2 days after you put this, I mean, I don't know.
I wrote that Tuesday or Monday.
If he stayed healthy the rest of the season, and let's say this right oblique thing isn't anything and he'll be back later this week, I would say like 48.
When I saw Acuna tied him.
And then Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is at 17 now. Baseball's in good hands, I guess. You get all these young stars everywhere, producing at a super high level already.
2 of which dads would rake as well.
Yeah, and then you also have Bo Bichette, his dad, Kevin Biggio, his dad.
I was just meaning between Tatis and Vlad, because Acuna's dad, we don't know if he could rake.
Yeah, we don't know. How many do you think?
I don't know. I was going to guess around 45.
Yeah, you'd think. I mean, he could probably still get there without playing a full season the rest of the way because of how many he's hitting. But
some of these balls have just been murdered too.
Yeah, I mean, it's what the kids do these days. I don't know. It's an interesting time in baseball. So, all right, let's get through the hockey stuff here. There's a lot written, but we won't go too far into it. There's only a few, real things to get into. A couple of these are just kind of headlines, and I'll let you start them out with the first 4.
Oh, the first 2 are yours. They're in green.
Well, okay, the NHL suspended Vegas's Ryan Reeves for 2 games. I don't even remember what he did at this point. What did he do? Trying to injure somebody, I think, is basically what it came down to. Ryan Graves or something for.
Yeah, it was the guy who used to wear the turtleneck from Montreal.
I can't remember.
But he cross-checked the goalie, then grabbed him, pulled him down from his helmet, and then had my eyes put his knee on his face.
Yeah, you're gonna get suspended for that, so that's not surprising at all. And then Vladimir Tarasenko for Russia nets the shootout winner in his debut at the IIHF Worlds Tournament. And it's kind of surprised he played for Russia because I know he was dealing with a groin injury before the Blues got knocked out. So I'm kind of surprised that he continued to play hockey, but he did. So we'll see how it goes down there for him. And I think he's going to be the subject of trade rumors in the offseason. So we'll see.
And then you'll like this, Bettman upholds 8-game ban for Avs Kadri.
Rightfully so. Scumbag hit leads to scumbag consequences. And Gary Bettman actually does the right thing for once. So there you go.
And then my headline, Leafs crumble in Game 7 against Montreal. Playoff woes continue.
And then I threw out there, move over Edmonton. The Leafs are way more pathetic than you. Because, I mean, Jesus. They're up 3-1 in the series. They're the biggest market in Canada for hockey. So, if people don't follow the sport, this is like the Lakers not knowing how to win.
And then against a team who had the least amount of points coming into the playoffs. They had 59 points. They only had 24 wins.
A team that was falling apart going into the playoffs. And we know that Montreal has the pieces to win the playoff series because they're goaltender and then they have decent players around them. But you're up 3-1 in the series. You're a better team overall. I just think the Leafs might be cursed at this point. I mean,
two of those wins had to be won in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. With no fans, which is just ridiculous to begin with. But I
think the last game had fans.
Yeah, it was only a 1,500 or 2,000, which who even does that make that much of a difference at this point? Probably not. But after talking about Buffalo a few weeks ago and how much their situation is screwed, and Edmonton, Toronto's worse. They have more playoff series.
What is the fallout with the Leafs?
It's going to be I don't think it's going to be as big as people think, but I think if this happens one more time, which is such a stupid mentality, it's it
happened last year. Boston did it to them.
They haven't won a playoff series since 2004.
They were at 3-0 or 4-1 against Boston, and Boston scored 3 goals in 3 minutes.
That also happened. Yeah, I mean, it's just pathetic. I don't know if Mitch Marner gets traded. If I'm the Leafs, I probably wouldn't trade him. He's still one of their best players. I don't care if he underperformed in the playoffs. He also gets paid way too much. Zach Hyman's a top 6 forward there. He's a free agent. I don't think he'll be back. Frederik Andersen wasn't even the starting goaltender for them at the end of the playoff run. They had Jack Campbell in net. He's a free agent. He'll be gone. They have 4 – this is the bottom line. 4 players who make up 49.7% of their salary cap. That's just not a winning formula.
Well, Tavares wasn't even in. He was
hurt, yeah. Which one player doesn't win or lose a series.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah. Matthews, Marner, Nylander. Matthews and Marner did basically nothing. I think Matthews had 1 goal in the series. Nylander had a few, but at the end of the day, 49.7% of your salary cap being taken up by 4 players is not a winning formula. Look at the teams that have won the cup recently. Do they have these super high-paid players? I mean, maybe a couple, not 4. Washington obviously has Ovechkin gets paid a lot. I believe Backstrom gets paid a lot. You look at the Blues, they had O'Reilly and Tarasenko were their highest-paid guys at 7.5, which is not 10 or 11, which is what these guys are making. And then you look at Tampa Bay last year. I mean, none of those guys are making exorbitant amounts of money. You look at Braden Point, who was basically their best player last year on a bridge deal, making $5 million. So it's just not a way to win. So you'd think one of those 4 guys is eventually going to get traded in the next few years, I would assume, but we'll see. Let's go to Ted Lindsay, the most outstanding player nominees as voted on by the players. Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Sidney Crosby. Connor McDavid is going to win, enough said. The NHL draft lottery is coming up about 30 minutes from when we're recording this, and the odds are out for it. Who gets number 1 pick? And this is an interesting draft because nobody really knows who's going to be the number 1 pick. You got Buffalo, 16.6% chance. Anaheim, 12.1. Seattle, 10.3. Tied with New Jersey, number 4, at 10.3.
It's so weird saying Seattle.
It is, and it's going to be even weirder when they start to play next season. It's always weird when that happens, but with how well it's transitioned for Vegas, maybe people will get used
What
to it.
division are they going to be in?
I'm pretty sure that when they go back to normal divisions next season,
Will they be in with like San Jose and
you'll have
Kings?
Arizona. Arizona will move to the Central with St. Louis and Nashville and all them, and then the Pacific will have Seattle. So Arizona will switch to Central, and then Seattle will step into the Pacific. So makes sense because you're going to have Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton. All those Canadian teams are close to Seattle, especially Vancouver, but. Yeah, that makes the most sense. Columbus at 5 at 8.5. Detroit at 7.6, number 6. Number 7, San Jose, 6.7. Number 8, the Los Angeles Kings, 5.8. Number 9, Vancouver, 5.4. Number 10, Ottawa, 4.5. Arizona's number 11, 3.1. But remember, due to all the violations they've had over the last few years with their previous GM, John Chayka, they forfeited their pick. So if Arizona wins the lottery, there will be a reroll, which – the fact that they're in the lottery when they don't have a pick is absurd to begin with. So I don't know what the hell we're doing with that. Just trying to hurt the odds of the teams outside of them, I guess. Number 12, Chicago, 2.7. Number 13, Calgary, 2.2. Number 14, Philadelphia, 1.0, who just had a miserable season. Number 15, Dallas, 1.4. And the Rangers at 16, 1.0. And the Hockey Writers, which is where I write some articles, top 5 2021 NHL prospects from May, according to Andrew Forbes. Number 1, Matthew Beniers at the University of Michigan, who's a center. Number 2, Owen Power at the University of Michigan, who is a defenseman, who I think should be the number 1 pick. Number 3, William Eklund, a centerman from the Djurgårdens IF in the SWHL from Sweden. Number 4, Dylan Gunther, I believe is how it's pronounced, another center, Edmonton Oil Kings of the WHL from Canada. And then number 5, defenseman Brant Clark, who is playing for Novzamki Mikron HC in the Slovak League, alone from the Barrie Colts, another Canadian player. So this isn't 2019 where we had 5 or 6 United States-born players in the top 10. We got about 2 or 3 this year, with Luke Hughes and Kent Johnson also being outside of the top 5.
Is that William Eklund? Is that any relation to that other Eklund that's in the league right now?
I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know. But your team is in quite a series, huh?
I did write this right here. I said I think this Boston Islanders series could be a fun one that goes the distance.
Yeah, I picked the Islanders in 7, so I think it'll go deep as well. And Game 2 is the definition of that, of a good series. When you have a 3-1 lead blown in the third period, then overtime, where Boston has a ton of chances, or a few chances, I guess, in overtime. And yeah, so I think it will go the distance. I think all these series have been pretty fun, even though I don't know why the Lightning have to just obliterate the Kings. And it seems like the Avalanche are going to kill Vegas. I mean, 7-1 in Game 1, but I think Vegas will respond tonight.
I don't get also why the Lightning and Avs, they played their first games on the same night, and then why they didn't play the second game on the same night.
I don't understand it either. I don't know. But it was a very quick turnaround for Vegas. Remember, they played Game 7 on a Friday night. Then they played Game 1 of the next series on a Sunday. It's a very quick turnaround, and they got
But
destroyed.
we do have the second round of the set. We have in the East, you got Boston playing the Islanders. In the North, you have the Jets playing Montreal. The Central, you have the Lightning playing the Canes. And the West, you have the Avs playing Vegas. The Avs, Vegas is at 1-0 Avs. Lightning are up 2-0 on the Canes. The Jets, Montreal have yet to be played. Boston Islanders are 1-1.
Just let it be known that my picks are the Islanders, Jets, Lightning, and Avalanche. That's where I would go. Where would you?
Oh, yeah, we didn't pick these. How did we do on picking of the first round?
I have my picks somewhere. I went Boston, nailed it. Pittsburgh, not even close. Colorado, nailed it. Vegas, nailed it. Carolina, nailed it. Tampa, nailed it. Edmonton, no. Toronto, no. So I went, 5 for 8. 5 for 8. Could be worse, but that's where I'm going this time. Winnipeg, New York, Tampa, and Colorado. So we'll see.
I did tell you that. Watch out for Montreal.
I could see them winning it, but I've always had a weird feeling the Jets.
No, I
were
just said
eventually gonna make
last
one.
week when we made our
Yeah.
picks, I picked them in that game, and you're like, no, it's
True.
going to be over. Toronto's going to end it.
Yeah, gotta think. I thought something had to give with the Leafs at some point that they would eventually lose or win a playoff series, but they're just a joke. I mean, if you're a Toronto fan, how do you even go on from there? How many more times do you take it? Especially this year, one of the best teams in the league this year. It's embarrassing. So I don't think anyone who listens to this is a Leafs fan, but you never know. College
But
football.
yeah, postponed game, Arkansas Notre Dame game booked for 2028.
Good, good, good. I think everyone will be excited and mark that on their calendar in 2028.
Yeah, 7 years down the road, we got this game booked. I don't know when this was postponed from.
Probably last year.
And then Buffalo AD Allnut lands 5-year contract extension.
Just lost his football coach and hired a new one. So there you go. Big ups.
He lost another one, or the one we talked about?
The one Leopold leaving.
The Michigan guy.
Yeah.
Texas Tech also lands former All Sun Belt wide receiver Kalen Geiger, transferring from Troy. He's a senior, caught 64 passes in 11 games last year. In 2019 was newcomer of the year, was with pretty good stat line. 77 passes caught, 873 yards, 5 touchdowns. Carried the ball 4 times for 36 yards and a touchdown. Oklahoma AD disappointed with early kickoff versus Nebraska.
Cry about it. Nobody cares about this. I don't know why this guy thinks that people actually care about this. I mean, I'm sure Oklahoma and Nebraska fans might care, but from an outsider's perspective, I don't care at all. So this kind of sounds, whiny by him.
Because you're playing Nebraska, so you can have the early game.
Nebraska is a joke of a school.
That's why you get the early game.
Yeah, exactly.
ESPN has 100 college football games in 3 weeks.
What does that even mean? Like when the
I'm guessing they're televising 100 football games in the first 3 weeks of the season.
How are they going to fit that in? Because the one thing that I hate about college football is that the games take so long. I mean, people are worried about baseball games. Like college football games are absurdly long.
I don't know how they're fitting it in.
Good luck to them. They got 100,000 different channels, plus streaming platforms too. So,
yeah, but they're getting 100 football games in 3 weeks.
Good luck to them. We'll see. They should actually change college football clocks to like 12 minutes, but that's just me. All right, let's do our picks before we get out of here.
Where'd you go last week?
Last week I went 6-3.
What?
4-0 in Major League Baseball. 1-2 in the NBA, 1-1 in the NHL. Puts me at 45-34 for the year. A huge week for me.
4-0 in baseball?
Yep. Trying to see who I won with. It was the Cubs, A's, Brewers, and Reds all won on that Thursday.
Yeah, because some of the Padres couldn't beat the Brewers.
Brewers weren't winning any games in that series. They were due to win one, and I jumped on it. Nailed it.
And then you won all your hockey games?
I went 1-1 in hockey and 1-2 in basketball. Nailed it.
Oh, I went 5-4.
So I got a game on you there. In golf, I had Spieth finish second. Thomas was tied for 40th. Streelman tied for 20th, and Stinson was cut. So that was my.
So was Lee Westwood.
Yeah, it's a tough week. The Memorial Tournament this week, I am picking 4 golfers as we usually do. I'm going with Colin Morikawa at plus 1650, Bryson DeChambeau at plus 1850, Brendan Todd at plus 7,000, and Max Homa at plus 12,500.
I'm taking Roy McIlroy at plus 1,600, Matthew Fitzpatrick at plus 2,800, Billy Horschel at plus 4,000, and Matt Kuchar at plus 9,000. Kuchar keeps getting me around. He lingers around the top 10 until day 4, and then he drops to like 20th.
We'll see how it goes for him. All right. Thursday, NHL playoff lines, game 3s, a couple of them. Give me the Islanders plus 116 against the Bruins, and then give me the Hurricanes plus 133 to bounce back against the Lightning. I think the Islanders getting that win, maybe they'll try to win another. They seem like the type of team that can string together a couple wins, and the Bruins will punch back in game 4. It'll keep going back and forth, as you alluded to earlier. What do you got?
I'm going to take a game from you here. I'm going to take Boston minus 134. They're going to kick the Islanders in the mouth here. And then I'm taking Carolina plus 133 over Tampa because they need to get a win here.
We'll see. Thursday NBA money lines, I guess, is what we're doing, which I didn't do last week, but I did do this week, and it hurt me last week going 1 and 2. But game 6s, give me the Nuggets to close out the Blazers. I just think so much life has been sucked out of the Blazers after losing that game last night, plus 170 on the Nuggets. And I think the pessimistic Suns fan in me is taking the Lakers minus 137 to force a game 7 against the Suns.
I took the same because there's no way the NBA is letting the Lakers lose in 6.
You wouldn't think so, but it's not like the Suns don't have a couple of big names. They don't have LeBron and Anthony Davis, but Chris Paul, Devin Booker.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's no way the NBA is letting the Lakers lose in 6.
We'll see. I hope that
they're going to want that to go 7 just to get LeBron his TV time.
We'll see. I could definitely see that happening, though. So, all right, baseball. I'm picking 4 home teams. The Giants, minus 125 against the Cubs. The Cubs have won 9 of 10. Something's got to give. The Padres, minus 166 against the Mets. The Mets are coming off a disastrous loss yesterday to the D-backs. I know they're playing right now. I don't know what happened to that game, but the Padres just got swept by the Cubs. So, White Sox, minus 206 against a horrendous Tigers team. And the Red Sox, plus 126 against the Astros.
Who'd you take in the Cubs-San Fran game?
San Francisco.
Ooh, I got we're going to go head-to-head in 2 of these games.
Huge swing.
I got Houston minus 136 over Boston. I got St. Louis minus 126 over Cincinnati. The Cubs plus 115 over San Fran. And San Diego minus 166 over the Mets.
Should be an interesting week. We'll see how our picks go. We'll check back on that next week. Hopefully we have some sort of significant NFL trade to discuss next week. Maybe Julio Jones will finally be moved on from Atlanta, and we'll find out. But next week will be 6/9. Very nice. All right. We'll be back next Wednesday with number 15 on the Sports Mashup.
Deuces.